And over the last 10 years, we have really changed tack on taking the specification of our designs very seriously on behalf of our clients. Our clients employ us as design professionals to be knowledgeable and recommend the right material for their forever home. So we have really turned around and we do a lot of internal testing ourselves on materials before we put it out within our specifications, and we speak a lot to our tradespeople.
Hi, I'm Beth, the founder of More Time to Design and your host of the Design Dialogues podcast. I've been a designer for the last 12 years and I've run my own studio for 5. And I know how hard it is to run a successful business. You not only need to be great at designing, but you need to be great at all the other things as well. I created More Time to Design, a software platform to help designers run efficient studios, and I've created the Design Dialogue podcast to help us all learn together. Each week, we will meet professionals who are at the top of their game doing things that help us run our studios. We'll have conversations with social media managers, interior design mentors, copywriters, stylists, photographers, suppliers, and also designers who have been in the game for a long time and who have such a wealth of knowledge to share. I hope that each week you feel inspired and informed at the end of each of our design dialogues. So join me for the Design Dialogue podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. This week, I am joined by Gavin Hepper from Concepts by Gavin Hepper. Hi Gavin, how are you?
Hi Beth, how are you? It's great to be here on the podcast with you.
Thank you for joining me. So I love to start every episode by finding out, what can you see out your window today?
I've got an incredible view. I'm within the Illawarra, which is in Wollongong, about an hour south of Sydney, and I've got a gorgeous view up to the escarpments. Down here, where really we've got the ocean on one side, the beautiful mountain on the escarpment on the other. So I'm really fortunate that the studio actually faces west. So in the afternoon, which we're at the moment, we get an abundance of natural light through. So it's always the time of day that we're doing our specifications and selections as well. So it's a beautiful view up to the green escarpment.
Beautiful. I know that area well. It's a very, very beautiful part of the world. So I'm a bit envious of you with that view. So tell me about your business and how you got into where you are today. I know a little bit about Concepts by Gavin Hepper, but I would love to know a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I think for me, it all started with family. And I suppose it's a sort of a round thing because now what we do is all about people and place and family. Yeah. My family growing up was full of creatives and trade people. I actually had a grandfather that was an interior decorator and painter. So to actually be around him, and speaking of actually colour and texture, because back then the interior decorator and painter was the one that you got in for all the advice. So I've still got some of Pop's paint brushes and levels and things as well, the old timber teak things in it. So it's really nice to have that. So I always had a passion of working with my hands and being active, and always really enjoyed timber. So out of school, I actually got a trade as a detailed cabinet maker and furniture fabricator, and I really enjoyed that. So out of that journey as becoming a tradesperson, I actually was very fortunate to have a great skill at what I actually did from a craft perspective, could perform great quality at a nice pace. So therefore I was a bit of a target and being poached from lots of different joinery shops. And throughout that journey, without me realising, I was actually started to, I suppose, mentally draft my own business plan. I was monitoring how joinery shops done things well and not so well, and most importantly, how they come up with a solution when they had a problem with the client. Out of that, one thing I really realised was the lack of design and the lack of documentation in the joinery shops I was working for. And that was the core of upset clients.
Yeah.
So organically, I become self-employed. Then I started to do a couple of small design courses. And organically, it went from more trade-based to more design. And now we sit in just a design studio, being concept by Gavin Hepper. It's purely 100% design focused and led. However, I still have a trade license, which allows us to project manage, build joinery, install joinery, and project manage, procure items and on materials on behalf of our client. So it's generated an incredible turnkey design studio to allow us to design, construct, and we're pretty firm on not doing anything structural from a build perspective. But very client focused, about people, it's about place. We are we're very firmly focused on functionality before we start applying color, texture, and the style. So it's important for us that comes first, and a real underpinning of two things: it's materials that are fit for purpose and will genuinely have longevity within our clients' homes, because most of our clients' homes that we're working in is their forever home. And the other thing is great buildability attached to our design documentation. As starting in the trade, and as my story I've just told, one of the frustrations was a lack of documentation. So it's something we take utmost pride in now, is to hand our documentation over to the trade so they can go and build efficiently on behalf of their clients.
What a dream. I love that term, buildability. So many builders are like, what am I meant to do? I'm not a magician. Like, how is that meant to work? So I think I can imagine that trades love seeing your documentation packages and all of that kind of stuff.
But even the advancements in 3Ds now and doing virtual fly-throughs, especially some of the younger tradespeople on site, you see their eyes light up when they actually see the 3D images of what they're about to build. And we love to see that excitement in their eyes, because it actually sort of brings that little bit more detail and passion for them within their build as well. So it's really nice now, just the advancements in all that, and working as a team, and the clients are part of that team, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so tell me a little bit, so do you produce, so obviously design all the joinery, but do you also, are you the joiner on the project, or do you have a joiner that you work with?
No, I do not have a joinery shop. I promised myself now, close on 20-something years ago, becoming self-employed, that I would never open a joinery shop. There was a few colleagues within the industry in different segments throughout Australia, and we all had very similar journeys of being tradies and going through into the design industry. Two of them did open a joinery shop. Within 24 months, they shut the joinery shop down because it actually took 100% of their time and focus dealing with the issues of machinery, etc., within the joinery shop. So I always promised myself that I would never open a joinery shop. And also I wanted to prove a point that my last employee told me that I would never be able to succeed in this industry if I did not have my own joinery shop. So it was great to do what I do, and a little bit of a drive of remembering that conversation.
There's nothing like that, is there, trying to prove somebody wrong. It's the best form of movement.
Yeah, it's a feel-good thing, right? And sometimes you need that little bit of a fire in your belly or whatever it is to keep you driving. And then I actually put my nephew through a cabinet making apprenticeship back in the days when I was on the tools, and he's now purchased a joinery shop. So quite clearly, they do quite a bit of our joinery for us. So people, place, family, and here we are working together with my nephew that I put through an apprenticeship, and what an amazing tradesperson he is.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story. That's so lovely. And I love that it's that, it's that string that kind of comes from your grandfather all the way through. That's really, really beautiful. And so tell me a little bit, before we press record, we were talking about kind of education and product, and you obviously come to design from a very knowledgeable perspective. You have product and material knowledge that a lot of interior designers would not have on the day that they start. So tell me a little bit about your journey with that in terms of other products in the business? Obviously, we have the whole silicosis thing at the moment, so the education around stone and engineered stone. And tell me a little bit about how that journey has happened for you in your studio.
And it's a great question, but it's so deep as well, right? And I'm a talker. I'll keep this short and sharp. At the end of the day, for me, there's Australian standards and local codes and standards for a reason, and that's for us to adhere to. And generally, it's because there's a good reason why that standard's in place. Whether it be something that are flammable aspects, so there's materials that are quite clearly are classed as flammable. And non-combustible, if you like. So it's really understanding the materials that we're designing with that are fit for purpose, do meet codes, and can really level up our designs. So it's been very interesting, even within the last 24 months, of a direct decision to start pushing the boundaries a little bit. And every time we pick up a material within the studio, to ask ourselves, is it really the right material? Or are we just using it because we've been using it in that manner for the last perhaps 10 to 15 years, and challenging ourselves as a design studio, why do we continue to use that material in that manner over and over? So yeah, looking at the rule book, Australian standards and local codes, and also from the supplier's perspective, they've all got conditions attached, if you like, and how to best apply the material that's there. So and over the last 10 years, we have really changed tack on taking the specification of our designs very seriously on behalf of our clients. Our clients employ us as design professionals to be knowledgeable and recommend the right material for their forever home. So we have really turned around, and we do a lot of internal testing ourselves on materials before we put it out within our specifications. And we speak a lot to our tradespeople, say our stonemasons, our joiners, our carpenters, our tilers, and saying, how are you finding this material? How is it working? What's the feedback? Are you having warranty calls? Blah, blah, blah. So we say to our reps, if there's a new product, we want to be the first in New South Wales to know about it, but don't expect us to be the first one to use the product, because we'll do a little bit of testing and we'll wait for it in the market for a little bit of time before we've got confidence to move forward with the specification. So I really like where we've landed within all that. And you're absolutely, I suppose, correct in that leading thing to do with the silicosis issue. That's perhaps been the driver to this change as well, because I feel that perhaps we were all within the industry fed such an incredible product, if you like, as engineered stone back in the day. It was cheap, it was great quality, it was easy to work with, it was, the best thing since sliced bread within our industry back then, right? And it was a great alternative to laminate benchtops.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say kind of testing, I suppose, testing the rigors of the products, what does some of that look like? Because I know there'll be possibly some junior designers or just even, other designers. They're like, it sounds great, but I don't even know where to start. Like, I think we are so conditioned, or not conditioned, but I think a lot of us kind of listen to the reps and kind of take it on face value, and then not really sure what the next step is to question that.
And a lot of that is I suppose, first of all, it may well be one thing to get some samples and some brochures in the studio, but it's straight up asking for all the material data sheets to actually support what that is as well. Always have on the forefront of your mind, from my perspective, is sustainability. What was the journey of that product? Is it 100% virgin product made from 100% virgin materials, and can it ever be upcycled and recycled after its initial use? Once you start looking into those type of topics, sometimes you're actually disgusted on what it takes to get a product into the client's home, and then it can never actually really be recycled and upcycled after its
Mm.
life. And you soon realise that at our fingertips within the studio, we've got other incredible products that are just as fit for purpose, and will look just as great and perhaps perform better. We quite often will regularly, we'll set up a tray of materials, let's even say it's bench materials, and go, all right, let's put a array of different sources and things on, leave it for 24 hours, 48 hours, and wait for them to dry, see how it tests, see if it stains or not. Scratchability. There's some products that say you can remove scratches if it scratches, so let's actually test that. So therefore we can speak of that testing with our clients. We did put some of this testing publicly quite a few years ago, and put that actually on Instagram. We had to remove it because one of the suppliers actually sent us some documents to say that had to be removed quickly, because they didn't want that put out on our page as professionals. So unfortunately, we keep that in-house now, so we don't get letters like that landing on the email.
Yeah, wow.
So it's great. And there's an architectural or big design firm in Sydney called Toga Group, and they do that to the finest. And they've been, for me, one of the inspiration behind taking the specifications so seriously, because they sort of own their own hotels and manage them and things like that. So they'll look at, say, what's in the average person's toiletry bag when they stay in one of those hotels, and make sure that all those surfaces perform well with the spills and things, and are safe for their clientele to be in as well. So it's the VOCs and things that are attached to all it as well.
Yeah, wow, that's so...
Education.
Yeah. And I suppose it really does come to, it comes down to being curious, really. It's about, I think the scratch one is really interesting because it's quite often something that a client will ask you, can it, and you're like, if you just take on face value from what's been said in the brochure that, it's it can be, you can fix the scratch, but it's actually what is that process and how much is involved and what are the possible cost implications? And then what does it look like after the scratch has been fixed, kind of thing. And I actually think if you put the research in and know all those answers, one, you might go, well, actually, even if the scratch has been fixed, it's still not going to look great and the client's not going to be happy and that's going to be a headache. And you just go, I'm just not even going to go there. We're going to go and choose something else, kind of thing. It's that kind of being curious, but also I think having the experience to know what are the 6 steps after the scratch has been discovered that are going to cause you a big headache.
And for me, it's becoming when it's about education, it's knowledge. And in our industry, and with my experience now, I suppose I've got the wisdom to understand that becoming educated is knowledge. And when you have the knowledge, it actually presents to the clients as confidence, and they actually have a lot of confidence that the material you're putting forward is actually the right thing. And that is attending trade events and shows and seminars and things, and asking the hard questions and listening and learning, and I'm one to give back to the industry. I've had very significant positions in several associations throughout Australia, which is all volunteer side of things, and that's for me is to give back to the next generation. If we can make it better for us here now, but also that next generation of designers and architects and builders, to ultimately be better for them, but also the consumers at that point as well. So I'd love to say to anyone, send me a DM. If you've got a question, if you want to know what or how I've done something or what material I've used, it's not a secret. Ask me the question.
Yeah, exactly. And the other side of that as well, I totally agree. I think the more you know, it's, the understanding that the clients aren't just coming to you to make a space look pretty. It's about function and form more so even than the aesthetics of it.
Yep.
How do you navigate that with the client in terms of, let's just use the example of engineered stone. They've come to you, they've got that preconceived in their mind that, natural stone is expensive and it's difficult to live with and all of that kind of stuff. How do you navigate those kind of objections with the client when it is purely really a cost decision that they're basing this on rather than the 7 other factors that should be coming into their decision making?
Yeah, and look, I think these are discussed. First of all, it's making sure that the said client is actually your type of customer. That we all should not just be taking on every customer that comes our way. And I think sometimes if we're hitting some hurdles there and we're getting frustrated, it's learning that we should never have taken that client on in the first place. Beyond that, it is about that education side of things and actually talking about the cost of identifying, first of all, is the budget for, let's say we're doing the kitchen. Is the budget that the clients are thinking actually realistic for the size of the space, the type of materials they're thinking, and the functionality that they're expecting? And that's how I start all those conversations, is let's identify, is your budget realistic, or would you like me to recommend, based on the information I'm hearing, what sort of budget perhaps you should be spending at a minimum? And so I'm actually asking them, do they want my professional recommendation? If they say yes, they have to accept my professional recommendation. So that's how I sort of navigate that. When it comes to the engineered stone side of things, we are very upfront with all our clients very early on, because I removed engineered stone out of our studio 9 years ago, and we have not used a square millimetre of it in any of our projects since. Once I explain to the clients why, they all understand. So I've only had one client in that period of time that went against our design and specifications purely because of weight from a kitchen company saying, we will not build the kitchen for you, we don't use this alternative material, which was engineered stone, and that got put in. So yeah, but it's about education and explaining why. And yeah, if clients choose, I suppose, not to accept that, that is up to, that's their decision, I suppose.
Yeah. And so like taking engineered stone out of the mix 9 years ago, that's quite the ahead of the curve. And I'm sure you must have, what kind of led you to make that decision that far back?
I was sitting alongside a national engineered stone brand at the time. I was actually approached by them to be their brand ambassador. I was considering that and doing my due diligence at the time. I perhaps found a few things that I suppose didn't seem quite right through my lenses. As that happened, there was actually a news article, and that news article in 2019 spoke about this health concern to do with engineered stone benchtops. I asked this brand about it, and they chose to tell me that that didn't really exist and that everything was okay. So I've done a little bit of digging over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and when I actually found myself the truth behind what was there, I just looked at it and went, you know what? We have such incredible portfolio of great products. That was one of, say, a dozen options that we had sitting on the shelf. I was only removing one of those 12 options. So I still had 11 fit for purpose, great quality, reasonably price pointed, great products. I still to today have designers going, well, what would you use if you couldn't use that? You know, I was like, you're looking at it through the wrong lens. It is only one material sitting on the shelf of selection and specification. If we look, and this topic is quite controversial. It can ruffle some feathers. It's about livelihoods, and the brands importing a product then have a lot of staff. But if we actually patiently look at the reason that we are speaking about it, and that is all about health and safety. That is at the core of what this is. I strongly encourage anyone that has an opinion on this or works in the industry to find the report or email or message me on Instagram with your email address and I'll send it to you. It's a Safe Work Australia report that was published in August this year, so 2023. It's a 108-page report, and that really dives deeply into this. Read it and take it on board. Yes, it is a Safe Work Australia document, but it's got some great points in there and things that I was not aware of, and that the silica dust coming out of engineered stone is substantially a greater risk than, say, silica dust coming out of out of natural stone or concrete or bricks, if you like. And to understand, and it really talks about the chemistry side of that as well in there, I think is a real solid learning and understanding. That Safe Work Australia report is absolutely incredible, because that is what the basis of all this is being, the decisions are being made on at the moment. But if you look at and go, it has been a really, really, really big money maker, right? You know, I think it was in 2002, $600 million market for bench tops in kitchens in Australia. So $600 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
55% of those bench tops installed were engineered stone.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking about, you know, a big industry, but I see the right things are happening. Why I have taken a stance as well is, I don't like to call it a stance, but it's probably perceived to be that way. I'm doing the right thing for my clients. Is that I'm frustrated at the moment that this has come up as a big thing in the industry. It's creating a lot of talk, a lot of time being spent, and changes in the industry perhaps that should have been there with cutting methods and working safely, blah, blah, blah. But it's making the stonemasons' labour costs and the machinery they're using, the disposal of their waste, all of that a lot more substantial. That's pushing down to us and our clients from a bottom line perspective. And it's making products expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm frustrated at these engineered stone companies, because they knew about this problem before they ever imported the product into Australia. They chose to leave that knowledge in the drawer of the desk with the key tied behind it. And if they rocked up to us in late 90s and early 2000s and said, this product, it's a great product, we need to be careful and work with it under these conditions, we still would be using it today and be safe with it. We would have made the adjustments back then. And that's why, you know, I think, oh, geez, come on, guys. Like, I got brought up to say that if you've done something wrong, own up to it, put your hand up, apologise, and move on. And that's still not happening.
Yeah. Look, it's so... it's such in some ways it's such a black and white issue, and in other ways it's all shades of grey, because there is, as you said, like there is a lot of people that are employed by these industries or by this industry and these companies, and you know, every one of them has a family and all of that kind of stuff, and so that is a very hard thing to navigate. But then you also have, there are young men who are dying because of our desire to have a certain type of product in our home. And that, you know, that's, you know, what it is. We can't continue like that. And so I think it is really hard. And you are right. There are certain things that could have been done better or differently from the start. We most probably wouldn't be in this situation. But I do also think that I sometimes think of it as like our sugar addiction. It's like we've got this addiction to like stone, like it's got to be stone, it's got to be stone, it's got to be stone, and it's like stone at all costs. And it's like, I think sometimes it's just lazy design, because it's like, as you said, this is one tool in our toolbox when it comes to bench tops and all that kind of stuff. And I just think that we need to kind of get over our sugar addiction, and we need to kind of, not all, but some designers need to kind of exercise their brains a little bit more and kind of go, okay, well, what are our other options? And do the research and go out there and kind of extend and help educate yourself so that you can be a better designer to educate your clients. Yeah.
And the kitchen companies that they're working with as well.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's been a very easy product for people to sell within a sales role perspective, because there's certain brands you mentioned and they're big multinationals, right? So there's confidence that comes behind those type of brand names, and it's a very easy sale. So we're now obviously that's changing. But I see that's probably also a bit of the root of the core problem as well, that it's been so easy to sell. It's been so easy to work with.
I think that was the other thing. I think the other thing that there was something that I saw this week in like a Facebook group, and I was kind of like, oh gosh, like it's so, I think, a great example of designers that maybe aren't so used to working with natural stone. And so I'm kind of like, this isn't exactly what happened, but I can see how this would work. They selected the slab. The slab had imperfections, but it was okay. They were assured it was okay. The slab went to the stonemason. The stonemason rejected it because there were too many cracks in it. And that is a step in the journey you don't have with engineered stone. It's like it's pick your color and off you go. Like there's none of this nuance around cut placement and cracks and can it work kind of thing. And I think the whole industry is so skewed at the moment because there are only so many stonemasons that will work with natural stone, because they haven't worked with it for so long, that they're so used to cutting kind of this cookie cutter, few cuts, 10 minutes, done kind of thing. Where, I was talking, he's like, a stonemason could most probably get through 6 jobs in a day on engineered stone. Like it's boom, 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 and it's done. Natural stone, they might only be doing 2 because there's so much more craft to it. And I think this is where, and this applies to all tradies, there's a real craft to being a tradesman. And you talked about it before with that joy and that kind of spark that you see with young tradies on site when they see the fly-throughs, they see those detailed drawings, and they're like, wow, we're going to build that? That's awesome. And it's that spark of joy and that real craftsmanship that I think has died out a lot in the stone industry because they haven't had to. They've just been getting there, engineered stone slabs and cutting it up kind of thing. And so I think that is where we're in this weird mix, because prices are all over the shop. Not like you can't get stonemasons to work on stuff. And it's just this the whole industry kind of needs a reset on it. It needs to everyone needs to play their part. And we need to kind of back away from our sugar fix of engineered stone and relearn how to work with these other products.
And look, now we're being forced to do that, right? With the decisions that are being made. And so now it's time to become educated. My recommendation there is choose 1 or 2 natural stone suppliers that you can sit down with, you can have a chat about, talk to them about the application that you're looking at specifying it in. Look at the species of stone, the type of sealers that will come with that. Do they have a recommendation for a stonemason that would specifically work with that species of stone as well? Lean on those experts, because we're experts in our field, but we are only also as good as the people we surround ourselves with as well. And that's our every day and week as well on that, is to speaking to our suppliers like that, and after their recommendation, just to make sure that it is right. And natural stone is definitely one of those things. What a minefield that is, of all the different types of stone and sealers and when you could use it or not. And natural stone has that, I suppose, monkey on its back that, oh, geez, you just look at it and it was staying, won't it? And it's so expensive. We've had a few projects recently where natural stone option actually would have been cheaper than engineered stone if we were putting that forward as an option.
And I think that's one of the things like that, and it comes back to that education. So like, I am yet to meet like a stone supplier who will not talk to you passionately about their product. Like they are like, and it's a beautiful product, so it's not hard to be enthusiastic about it. But if you haven't specified natural stone before, or you don't feel that confident, spend an hour with the supplier and they will talk you through everything. And I think it's that education, like it just constantly keeps coming back to be educated, be open, and be curious, and it's okay. It's all right.
It is, and then it can be, from a natural stone perspective. No matter what we're looking at, let's then also take it on board from a sustainability perspective.
Yeah.
And because engineered stone is made from 100% virgin material and product, and it looks like it's been passed as well. That now, if it's within installed, it will need to be removed under similar conditions to asbestosis, and put to some sort of hazardous waste landfill, if you like. So when you look at that side of things, you go, oh God, how terrible that is, that from a sustainability perspective. But sort of knowing from a natural stone side of things, and the other alternatives that have been sitting there within our market for a period of time. Some people have been scared to adopt them. Some are, typically the porcelain style products. We generally will only use sintered stones within that pool of product, if you like. And we've chosen 2 brands, and a lot of that's come from a lot of research, a lot of time speaking to a couple of well-rounded people within that stone industry and our stonemasons. And we've had incredible success with sintered stones, absolutely incredible success. And
so tell me, what are some of the, apart from the sintered stone, what are some of the other finishes that you're pulling off, the shelf to look at these days?
Look, one of my favorite is solid surface. So Corian or Staron. And some of our projects that we have had international recognition with have been solid surface. It's such an incredible product. You can just have it as a simple 12mm edge only, cost effective. The joiner can work with it, so the labor costs are really low. It joins seamlessly. So from a hygienic perspective within client's home, you can heat form it, you can route it, you can it actually really opens up your creative mind. The possibilities of solid surface is absolutely incredible. We've been collaborating on a couple of projects with Corian Australia, and we've really opened our minds up to what we can do with the Corian product, and it's been great. So for me, if you've never worked with solid surface before within the industry, get your rep out, sit down, get some samples and start pouring through portfolios. And what's happening with a lot of natural stone out there, and the cost to route all these products and things can be really easily achieved with solid surface, But even going back to laminate and the advancements there, looking at compact laminate, Polytech have got quite an advanced one at the moment as well, with a color match core and things, So, and those type of products will wear just as well as perhaps what engineered stone did at a cheaper rate as too. Your joiner can work with it, so you're not actually paying the stonemasons rates to work with that. So, besides metallics, timbers, and it goes on, some paper-based recycled products. So as long as it's fit for purpose and it's going to perform and wear really well. But you'll see a lot in our kitchens say the island is a natural stone because it's quite the centerpiece, where the back edge, where the sinks and the cooktops are, may well be a sintered stone or a solid surface or something. So that's where the hard work actually happens.
Yeah. And it is like, I think that's a really great example as well of like thinking about where you're using which material. Like it's not just a blanket, we're going to apply one surface to everything. It's thinking about okay, well, if you want to have this beautiful natural stone, but the client's nervous about being it around the cooktop or the sink, whatever, like alternatives that work in together kind of thing. Like I think that's once again, it's understanding these products and understanding their strengths and weaknesses and where they can fit and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep. Oh, look, we trade in an incredible industry.
Yeah.
That's creative. We're doing great. We're changing our clients' lifestyles and the way that they live in their homes and with their family and bringing up family. So the opportunity that we have and we're presented with is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So it's just knowledge and becoming educated, which gives you that confidence to speak with your clients as well.
Yeah,
Really
definitely.
nice.
Definitely. Oh, so good. So good. So tell me, what are you looking forward to in the next 12 months in your business?
Oh, so much. We've just actually this week signed on 2 new clients. One of them is a brand new build. It's got a beautiful mid-century vibe to the actual project. So I'm really looking forward to start designing in that. We've got some of the nicest design work that we've ever done midway through at the moment. So we will be finishing that off in February, March next year. I have plans to expand the team.
Yeah.
And at this stage, off to Milan, to Rio Cucina and Milan Design Week, to rub shoulders with international designers, design brands, and come back full of more passion and knowledge, and to see what's happening in the world of international design.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it's great. And we do a lot of collaboration with brands, other designers, architects and building designers. So we've got some great collaboration opportunities there at the moment as well, with some really, really good brands within the broader interiors and furniture industry for 2024 as well. So that's so exciting.
Wow, what a jam-packed 2024. And I think, you'll come back from Milan with that creative cup very full. So,
And if, as a designer, if you've never been to Milan, I highly recommend saving all those pennies to get over there. The first time I went was in 2008. And if I look back at my portfolio and my design career, I was come back a different, more positive designer that thought outside that really hard square box at that point. It was definitely a changing point within my design career.
Yeah, it's definitely, I kind of I agree with that kind of thing. Like it's a lovely way to kind of just open your eyes and go, wow, there is a whole world out there. And Australia is, I don't think you quite realize, not that it's small, but it's just, we are at the end of the flight path kind of thing. Like, there is a whole world out there. And I think Milan is such a great way of opening your eyes to all of that.
Yeah, you're right. At the same time, we've got something special here. The way that we approach design, our homes and things like that, it's we have an incredible opportunity here, and we are quite unique within the way that we do things. So I think sometimes we also need to, as hard as it is, and no one really sees from a client perspective of, the 110 hours I generally spend a week sitting here in the studio, clicking a mouse, choosing things. Instagram shows it all pretty, right? But the hard work that goes into actually running a design studio and project managing sites and things like that, it's these international trips makes you realize how fortunate we are also here in Australia. The incredible light that we have, as natural light to be brought into our clients' homes, is something special.
Yeah, we definitely have a very beautiful palette to work with. Like it's a beautiful spot to be able to design. So I agree. We're very, very fortunate to do what we do in such a beautiful spot of part of the world. So tell me, how can our community reach out to you, Gavin, and ask you questions, send you DMs about educating themselves or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And please do. Anyone that has any questions, especially if you're a student of any age,
Yeah.
please reach out. I'm more than happy to mentor. If you're local to me, take interns on as well. Instagram is a big one for me. Reach out, follow us on Instagram. So it's at Concepts by Gavin Hepper. Reach out, DMs. Otherwise, head over to our website, which is also at Concepts by Gavin Hepper.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gavin. I have loved our chat. I could chat for you for hours. So thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Beth, and and thank you for what you're doing to promote and speak of the broader design industry. We need more beautiful people like yourself.
Oh, thanks, Gavin. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.